desno.
3, 4, 5, 7, evo, 8. Cijelo jutro sam vježbao i mislim da sam ga konačno savladao. Nije loše, ha?
Bravo, Silvestre. Sad si ti spreman za sljedeći korak, a to je solsticijski čvor kojim počinje kalendar sutanaca.
I dalje ne kužim kakve veze ima kalendar sa čvorom. Sada ćeš skužiti.
Evo ga. Ovako, moj Silvestre, za početak trebaš imati jedan malo veći, malo duži konop, znaš, da izdrži cijelu godinu. I oni su za početak svog kalendara radili ovaj solsticijski čvor. Vidiš, to se radi ovako, onda se okrene tu i potegne se ovdje. Tada, nakon zimskog solsticija, mjesec ima 2 puna ciklusa i tu ćemo svaki ciklus prikazati jednim manjim čvorom. Mi bismo rekli to su siječanj i veljača. Tada na red dolazi proljetni ekvinoci. Noć i dan jednako traju, a priroda se sasvim probudila iz zimskog sna. Tu ćemo svezati proljetni ekvinocijski čvor. Zatim opet 2 mala čvora da bi na red došao ljetni solsticijski čvor. I tako redom.
Ali ne razumijem, čemu to zapravo služi? Što su s time radili? I zašto?
Na taj je način svatko mogao voditi svoj osobni dnevnik, notes. Simbolima čvorova bilježiti događaje ili upozoravati na važne dane u budućnosti. Kroničar plemena na taj način bilježio razne događaje i prirodne pojave, te ih je mogao uspoređivati i proučavati, na primjer, učestalost prirodnih pojava. Ako je u određeno doba bilo mnogo kiše, pa i poplava, uz to bi doba privezao plavu vrpcu. Ako je bila suša, privezao bi smeđu vrpcu i uz nju crvenu ako je bilo požara. Bijela vrpca označavala je uravnoteženu, lijepu godinu s mnogo plodova. Ako je u neko doba bilo mnogo magle, privezao bi sivu vrpcu. A znaš li što je bio simbol za sunce?
Što? Spirala.
A što ti je najčešće na dohvat ruke, a zapravo je spirala?
Puževa kućica!
Antički Grci su prvi koji su shvatili kako se sunce kreće i iskoristivši činjenicu da se mjesec kreće ispred sunca, vrlo točno izračunali relativnu udaljenost mjeseca i sunca. No, veliki grčki filozof Aristotel vjerovao je da se sunce okreće oko zemlje, koja je po njegovu mišljenju središte svemira. Tako je vjerovao i Klaudije Ptolomej, veliki egipatsko-rimski astronom, čije je znamenito djelo Velika sintaksa, poznatije i kao Almagest, više od 1400 godina dominiralo zapadnom znanošću u poimanju svemira u kojem je Zemlja središte. Više od 15 stoljeća nitko se nije pitao zašto postoje dvije vrste nebeskih tijela, od kojih je jedna vrlo sjajno tijelo, toliko drugačije od drugih planeta koji su samo reflektirali njegovu svjetlost. Ništa nije vječno, pogotovo u znanstvenim teorijama, pa je 1500 dominacije Aristotelove i Ptolemejeve misli o Zemlji kao središtu svemira ipak morao doći kraj. Ali nije išlo lako.
It was the heretical Polish monk Copernicus, Nicholas Copernicus, who really brought together a series of ideas which challenged the view of the church and of Aristotle and of Ptolemy. He had the idea that the earth wasn't the center of the universe, it was the sun. And if you interpreted the motion of the planets in that way, you had a much simpler explanation of the movements of the planets and the movement of the sun. And of course, he believed that the sun was a uniquely different object from the planets, and the Earth was just one planet among many. So he changed the whole organization of the cosmos from being Earth-centered to being sun-centered. And of course, it was very unpopular at the time because people did not appreciate the observations which supported his conclusions. And his book was banned for hundreds of years. But Copernicus was right. The sun was the largest object in the solar system. The Earth went around it. And over the next 150, 200 years, there was a radical shift in our appreciation of how the universe is organized and the sun's place in it. It came with Copernicus. The sun was a unique object and the Earth went around it. And 200 years later, with the French philosopher Descartes, the sun became one of the stars. He looked out at the stars in this night sky and said, what are they if they are not suns that are much further away than our own sun? So even our own sun isn't unique. It's one of many in the cosmos. So over the space of 200 years, things change from the sun being a very special object to being one of a myriad of stars.
Od tih nebrojeno mnogo sunaca naše je samo jedno, ali zato je postalo glavnim likom u nebrojeno puno priča koje je čovječanstvo stvaralo kroz svu svoju povijest. Nerijetko sunce se opisivalo božanskim i postajalo božanstvo, no znalo je poprimati i ljudski oblik.
Much of the world's religions have become based on the sun because it became so important to them. They noticed that the sun seemed to be struggling during the night. It disappeared. It seemed to go away, went into a cave. And for several hours, the night hours, the ancients envisioned that the sun was in a battle for its life, for its very life. And that finally, in the morning, it had won the battle and it was resurrected from the death of night. In ancient times, the people wanted to tell the story of the sun so that they could know how it functioned and how it affected life on Earth. And they wanted to pass it along. So they made stories, they anthropomorphized, or they turned the sun into people, basically. Sometimes they were animals, but they were also human beings. And these could be both male and female. They were sun gods and sun goddesses. So basically, the story of the sun, as we find around the world, had several characteristics in common. In many places, the sun was born of a virgin, which in fact had to do with the dawn, the morning, the sun being born again every day, afresh, anew, virginally. And then that was one characteristic that we found about the sun. And then also the sun was said to walk on water, which was a reference to its reflection on bodies of water. The sun was said to have, in later times, the sun was said to have 12 disciples. These 12 disciples, or followers, or helpers, were the signs of the zodiac, the 12 signs of the zodiac. And they were personified as well. They had different qualities. different characteristics themselves. Also, it was said that the sun was born again on December 25th. It was also said that the sun died and was resurrected not only every day as the sun went into the tomb of the night and came out in the morning, but also every year at the winter solstice. So that was a major characteristic of the sun, was death and resurrection. Another major aspect of the sun occurred at the vernal equinox, when the day and the night were of equal length. It was said that the sun was hanging on a cross, the cross of the equinox. And then as the days started to become longer than the night, then it was said that the sun was resurrected. So we had the sun dying and the 3-day period at the equinoxes until the sun was resurrected again. And that all occurred in spring at Easter time. Another aspect of the story of the sun is that it reflects, the moon is reflecting the sun's light. So the phases of the moon are also factored into the characteristics of the story of the sun. And that in the solely lunar mythology, which has to do with the sun and the moon, it was said that the sun god died every 28 days or so, or 28 to 30 days. And that this was that eventually became the age of the sun. It was 28 years, 30 years. It had to do with the phase of the moon. Also had to do with certain degrees once the zodiac had been developed, that every 30 degrees the sun moves into a different house. Many people have suggested that Jesus, like other figures in the ancient world, was in fact originally a sun god, and that like these older figures, people had believed that he really and truly walked the earth, but he actually did not. And the older gods that his life appears to have been based upon also had been believed to walk the earth, but in fact they turn out to be sun gods as well. The Indian god-man or guru Buddha also shared many characteristics with the figure of Jesus Christ, including, of course, having disciples, devoted disciples. In some later images, there are actually 12 disciples surrounding Buddha. Also, in ancient times, Buddha was depicted as being born through the side of his virgin mother, who was impregnated in a dream, much like the story of Mary having the angel Gabriel coming to her in a dream, or her husband hears about her pregnancy in a dream. Buddha also was resurrected from the dead and ascended into heaven. Many people know who Apollo is. They may have heard of Apollo, the Greek sun god, or Helios, and the word Helios, in fact, does mean sun. Also in ancient Egyptian, the word Re or Ra means sun as well. We hear about Mithra, this god Mithra or Mithras, very well known to be a sun god. He's born on December 25th. Some stories have him being born as of a virgin as well. There's no guessing about Mithra. Mithra is unquestionably a sun god. The sun was so sacred to the Japanese that they did not really draw pictures of it as a person. They didn't personify it as strongly as other cultures. They had one sun goddess called Amaterasu, and she was, her name means heavenly shining one. She was worshipped by, to this day, in fact, in the Shintoist religion, Shintoism. The Shintoists put sun mirrors in their temple to reflect the power and the might and glory of the sun. They also have a vernal equinox and autumnal equinox celebration, where they dance and they do prayers to the sun. Horus was born of a virgin on December 25th. He also was killed and resurrected from the dead. He shares a number of characteristics with Jesus. He has 12 followers who he facilitates in their spiritual growth. Horus also did miracles. And again, these stories had much to do with the actual physical sun itself.
Well, if we don't have any sort of historical records, then we have to rely on the archaeological evidence. And we can look at the archaeological evidence and see whether there is evidence for connections with the sun or with astronomy. And there are various things we can look for in that. The obvious one that everyone thinks of is alignments. Stonehenge is aligned on the midsummer sunrise, for example. So we can look for alignments on the rising or setting positions of the sun or the moon or even stars in the past. And we can look at that in monuments and buildings and other constructions. So that's one thing. Another thing is things we call hierophanies, where we get special light effects that only occur very rarely. For example, the sun shining into a dark place or onto a bit of rock art or something just on certain days of the year for a few minutes, say. So special light effects. And then the last one is rock art and paintings that seem to have symbols of the sun.
Clive Ruggles sa sveučilišta Leicester prvi je profesor emeritus arheoastronomije na svijetu i vodeći stručnjak u toj disciplini koja spaja astronomiju, astrofiziku i arheologiju.
The easy answer to why people would align something, say, on sunrise is that it was some sort of observatory that people were actually checking whether it was the shortest or the longest day of the year or whatever. Really, that doesn't hold. It's a very naive sort of approach. The best way to show that is to think of an example. Newgrange, it's a passage tomb in Ireland, Neolithic, a bit more than 5,000 years old. It's a huge construction, 60 metres across, with a big long passage, almost 20 metres long, going into a set of chambers in the middle. It aligns famously on midwinter sunrise, so around the shortest day of the year. As it rises, the sun shines in through a roof box, a little slit above the entrance of the passage, right in down the passage, and would have lit up the chambers in the back, but only for a few minutes on a few days around the shortest day of the year. Now, that was not an observatory. There weren't people sitting in Newgrange amongst the bones of the dead looking, it's the shortest day of the year now. It was a tomb. And what that connection is telling us is that some connection existed in people's minds between death and the ancestors and the sun and seasonality. Probably had something to do with fertility, with renewal, that sort of thing. So in a way, we're not talking about astronomy. We're talking about something broader. We would tend to call it cosmology, people's interpretation of the world around them, the cosmos that they live in, and the way that they play out their lives and stay in harmony with that cosmos. And that involves connections with the skies and connections with everything else that they perceive. To draw any line. In fact, I think it's meaningless to draw a rigid line between ritual purposes and practical ones. Take an example. There are the standard places, the standard roundhouses that people lived in the Iron Age in many parts of Europe. A lot of them are oriented to the southeast, many more than you'd expect by chance. And there are arguments, or there have been, about why that should be. And one side of the argument says, this was some sort of sacred aspect. People were looking at the sun, the rising sun, and because of some sacred principle by which they had to orientate their houses with respect to that, that's why that was done. So it's a ritualistic purpose. Others say, no, come on, it's just purely practical. If you have your house aligned upon the rising of the sun on the shortest days of the year, the sunlight will shine in and warm up the house. Now, in fact, it could be a bit of both. It's not a case of one or the other. And in fact, what makes sense to us practically is saying something about our worldview. If people believe that by performing the right rituals at the right times of year, that they're going to bring something about, be that rains or the growing of crops or whatever it might be, that's just as practical to them as purposes that would seem to us directly practical. Mesoamerica. There are Mayan sites, particularly in the Petén of Guatemala. At a place called Oaxactún, there's a famous group of buildings. It's called Group E in the way that archaeologists classify things. There's one tower, and then to the east of that are 3 towers in a north-south line. And they're actually aligned. If you stand on the steps of the western tower, the eastern towers, you would have seen the sun rising, the 2 solstices, and in between equinox. But in the centre of Portugal and the western part of Spain that borders onto it are a group of 7 stone antas. Anta's just the Portuguese word for a dolmen, of Neolithic dolmens that have a definite axis to them. There's 7 stones placed with an entrance in a certain direction. And there are over 200 of these things, and every single one, without exception, points within the solar arc. So we have those are a very early example of solar-oriented sites. A historian of science who became an archaeoastronomer called Michael Hoskin went and measured the orientations of over 3,000 temples and tombs from the Neolithic, Bronze Age, later prehistory in general, all over Mediterranean and Western Europe, and discovered that all over Western Europe, throughout 2,000 years of later prehistory, people were building groups of tombs, groups of temples, and that their orientations were all restricted in different ways. Practices varied from place to place, time to time, just like the practices of actually building and the style of the tombs themselves. But in every case, there was a certain part of the horizon, for example, from northeast around to south, or around from southeast to southwest. And what Michael discovered was that these seemed to correlate with sectors of the horizon: sun rising sector, the sun climbing round from southeast to south, the sun descending, and then the sun setting. You get virtually none. I think there are 3 examples in the whole data set of 3,000 point north. And so there is a clear broad relationship to the sun in this whole group of prehistoric tombs. I think a lot of this is about keeping human life in tune with the cosmos, so that the cosmos has cycles that you perceive, cycles of the seasonal cycle. Things regenerate and grow, you harvest your crops, everything dies and it gets cold. And you want to make sure that things are going to come back next year and you're going to have another growing season, another spring, and it's going to get warmer and so on. And one way in which people perceive helping that along is to keep themselves in harmony, to do things at the right time. Some of that can be practical, make sense in our terms, sowing things at the right time, but other things can be ritualistic and by performing the right rituals. Now, this is only speculation, but imagine that you have a priest or shaman who knows about the sun moving along the horizon. Perhaps the people at large aren't too aware of this. And so by holding the ceremony to turn the sun round at the right time of year, then that priest or shaman is really going to be reinforcing his own power by holding the ceremony, and as a result of the ceremony, the sun starts back.
To the ancient peoples, the sun was a god. To the ancient Chinese, it was very important. It was important they understand its cycles and its seasons. And that was important to all the ancient peoples, the ancient Chinese, the ancient Egyptians particularly. The ancient Egyptians wanted to know about the cycles of the sun in order to understand the flooding of the Nile, which was their great agricultural event of the year. And only for a very short period did the ancient Egyptians actually worship the sun. That was during the reign of the heretic pharaoh Akhenaten and his son Tutankhamun. But the sun was only worshipped for perhaps 100 years before they went back to their even older gods.
I koliko to treba stati na suncu?
40 dana. Tada ćemo imati gotovo kantarionovo ulje.
A čemu to služi?
Ako se udariš pa te boli, za rane, samo namažeš i prestane.
A nije loše ni protiv opekotina, posebice protiv opekotina od sunca. I ovako malo kad te trga u križima.
Au!
Što se dogodilo?
Nešto me ubolo, osa.
Dođi da vidim.
Da donesem leda.
Ne treba. Ovo ćemo riješiti na starinski način, kako bi to riješila liječnica plemena Sutan. A nije, valjda da se bojiš, Silvestre, a?
Ne.
Pa nije strašno. Sunčica, ajde, molim te lijepo, uberi 3 različite trave.
Bilo koje?
Pa bilo koje 3, samo da nisu iste.
Može smilje?
Može.
A voseljak?
Da.
A može jedna koju ne znam kako se zove?
Može.
Onda evo me. Jesu dobre?
Odlične. Sad ih treba pomiješati i malo zgnječiti prstima, tako, ili dlanovima. Onda to oprezno uzmemo prstima, stavimo na mjesto uboda. Evo, gotovo. Je li bilo bolno?
Ne.
Da li te još uvijek boli ubodose?
Pa ne boli.
Eto vidiš, glavna liječnica uvijek je govorila da niti jedan lijek ne smije biti bolan.
Je li ta liječnica uvijek liječila samo travama?
Ma ne, ovisno o vrsti bolesti. Primjenjivala je različite metode liječenja, ali to nama danas djeluje neobično.
Zašto?
A zašto? Pa bilo bi ti dosta čudno da kad imaš neku ranu, recimo padneš, porežeš se ili se ozlijediš na nogometu, da ti liječnik kaže da ranu izložiš suncu.
Stvarno?
Od sunca se štitimo na različite načine. Zaštitu tražimo od njegove svjetlosti i topline. Ili vrućine ako želite. Njegova svjetlost najviše nam smeta tamo gdje je najhladnije, u područjima pod snijegom i ledom. Slično je i pilotima na velikim visinama. Moraju nositi naočale za sunce. A te naočale danas koristimo svi, postale su prava industrija. Pomagalo koje je uvijek uz nas, a nekima čak i zaštitni znak. No ponekad činimo čudne stvari. Dolazimo na sunčana mjesta kako bismo tijela izložili suncu, a onda se štitimo od njega različitim preparatima. Zapravo živimo u strahu od sunca. Izmislili smo 100-tinjak zaštitnih faktora. Sunčanje u solariju. Liječnici nas savjetuju da se klonimo sunca kako bismo izbjegli rak kože, a poznajemo i bolest pod imenom sunčanica. Ali nije uvijek bilo tako. Sunce može biti i ljekovito.
Some of the ancient people recognized that this was such a powerful form of natural power that gave them life that they began to harness the power of sunlight for healing purposes. One of the ancient cultures had a city of light, the city of Heliopolis. In that city, people would go for healing purposes. They had buildings with glass on the ceiling so that the sunlight could come in through the glass and literally illuminate the entire body, front and back, of individuals that were suffering from a whole array of illnesses and diseases. And they found that this light, filtered through color glass, was extremely powerful. Those are the early origins.
Heliotherapy is an ancient practice. It originated originally from Greece. The word helio means sun. The solar yoga is the original practice from which a diversion was made by using some mediums like crystals, the pyramids, the solariums and different colored glass bottles, and that was known as the heliotherapy. And different colors of the sun, the rainbow colors, the 7 colors, have curative effect on different diseases. For example, the red color of the sun, if it is used, it can cure the kidney. The green color can cure the liver. The yellow can color the heart. how do you get these colors? Suppose you have a pain in the kidney, then you keep some transparent glass of red color on your stomach. Get the sun's rays directly on that, and only the red color of the sun will pass, reach the kidney and heal you. Like that, whichever color of the sun you want. You take that particular glass, keep it on the part outside where you have got pain, suffering, and that part gets cured. Same way, colored glass bottles are used. That is, you store water, simple, pure water, in different colored glass bottles, keep it in sunlight for the maximum period available, sunrise to sunset, the water gets charged. And according to the color of the bottle, we say it is a red water of the sun, or green water of the sun, or blue water of the sun. These are known as the Vibgyor colors. And you drink that water regularly, ounce by ounce at different intervals, and you get cured. The red stone, red diamond will cure same disease as it can be cured through colored glass bottles or the glass pieces and crystals or the colored pyramids and so on. Same way the metals, the gold, the silver, the copper, they are also part of the sun energy, and they can also be used effectively to cure different diseases. Solarium is a system where at a height of 100-200 feet there is a revolving platform on which there will be 7 glass cabins of different colors, and according to the disease that you are identified and the color you required, you are put naked in that cabin, and that platform turns around the whole day and you get particular color of the sun and you are healed. But instead of going through all these laborious processes, but after going through all those things, I finally found out that our eye, the human eye, has all the powers of even the crystals, the pyramids, the colored glass bottles, the gold, the diamonds, and even the solarium.
Oko, taj naš dragocjeni instrument za gledanje, pruža nam mogućnost da vidimo svijet oko sebe. No kad okom gledamo sunce, tad nam se pjege čine kao mrlje, ponekad i kao greška. Ipak nam treba pomagalo da bismo se pogledom približili suncu.
One of the biggest revolutions in astronomy was the invention of the telescope. Now, we don't know exactly when the telescope was invented, but we know it made an appearance in the autumn of 1608. And throughout the whole of the following year, telescopes were being sent around Europe. They were being bought and sold in markets. And particularly, they excited the interests of very many scientists. The one we associate with the telescope is Galileo, who made very famous observations of the moon and the sun with a very early telescope. But he actually wasn't the first person to use a telescope to look at the sky. Throughout the summer of 1609, Galileo wasn't really sure about the telescope. He had to be persuaded that it was a good thing. And once he saw it, he realized what it could be done. But the first person to really use the telescope for astronomy and to look at the sun was a remarkable English scientist called Thomas Harriot. There are many discoveries in physics, optics, and mathematics we owe to Sir Thomas Harriot. And before Galileo had built his telescope in August 1609, Thomas Harriot had heard about the telescope, and he had built one. And he made the first observations with a telescope of the moon. And he also was the first person to look at the sun. And these are his notebooks, and they're just wonderful. This is the sun in 1610. These are the first proper drawings of spots on the surface of the sun. He saw them change day to day as he maintained a very meticulous record over several months. He saw as the sun rotated, the spots moved with it. He didn't actually use a method of observing the sunspots that we use today, like projecting them. He used his unaided eye and looked at the sun when it was low down through mist, and he hurt his eyesight quite a bit doing that. But what he left us are the first observations of the sun. This is the modern sun emerging from mythology by looking at these spots on the surface. And scientists at the time really didn't know what these spots were. Galileo wasn't sure whether or not they were really on the surface of the sun, or perhaps they are small planets which are orbiting very, very close to the sun. And it was Galileo's observations, and particularly another astronomer of the time called Christoph Schneider, who showed they really are part of the sun. They are blemishes on the sun. And that changed Aristotle's view, because as we saw, Aristotle believed that the sun was perfect. And here we have Harriot's observations, Galileo's observations, showing that the sun is not perfect. There are blemishes on the sun. And we would have learnt a lot more about that had it not been for something remarkable that happened to the sun at the time. Early astronomers with telescopes like Harriot, Galileo, Scheiner, and Hevelius saw a great many sunspots in the first few decades of the 1600s. But then, for a reason we don't really understand, the sunspots disappeared for 60 or 70 years. So these observations, this unique notebook showing these sunspots moving across the face of the sun, are a very valuable insight, not only historically to how we observe the universe through a telescope, but they're the start of a mystery about what happened to the sun in the 17th century.
Zar se suncu stvarno može nešto dogoditi? Ovisno odakle ga gledamo. Ako promatramo sa Zemlje, itekako može, pogotovo kad se kozmičkom plesu pridruži i mjesec. A ako ste živjeli u ona vremena kad se nije znalo što sunce uopće jest, svakako vam nije bilo svejedno kad bi taj izvor životodajne svjetlosti odjednom pocrnio.
If a solar eclipse happened, then that was something that was unexpected and was, generally speaking, disrupted the order of things, and so was considered dangerous in various ways, just as a broad generalization. So, of course, it would have been fantastic if people could have predicted solar eclipses particularly. The problem is that it's virtually impossible to do. What you can predict, and people like the Mayans did it, is predict eclipse danger periods. So what you're really doing is you're predicting the 5 months out of 6 when you know an eclipse can't occur. But in the danger period, you don't know whether an eclipse is going to occur where you are. You can be reasonably certain about lunar eclipses happening. If the moon's up in the sky and there's the total lunar eclipse, you're going to see it when it happens. But solar eclipses only happen on a tiny fraction of the Earth's surface, and so even you might successfully predict one, but it won't be anywhere near where you are, so it won't be seen.
In the ancient world, eclipses, when the moon passed in front of the sun, were major important events. And it was the main role of astronomers at the time to predict these events. And there's a story that in ancient China, there were 2 court astronomers called Hing and Ho. And one of their jobs was predicting eclipses. And they failed. And they were actually drinking and drunk. When this eclipse occurred in the sky, the army was mobilized and they fired arrows up into the sky to chase away the dragon that was eating the sun. Eventually, the astronomers were found, and because of their negligence, they were beheaded, which didn't happen a few hundred years later because scientists understood how to predict eclipses. They understood the regular cycles in which the moon passes in front of the sun. So eclipses taught us something about the rhythm of the sky, taught us something about the rhythm of the sun and the moon. And it was through monitoring eclipses that prehistoric man lined up stones to face certain parts of the horizon where the sun and the moon joined together, where their orbits intersected. So that understanding eclipses taught us something about the clockwork, about the mechanism of the orbits of the sun and the moon.
Ništa se ne vidi.
To je onda dobro.
Onda idemo.
Idemo.
Idemo!
Tako, samo još malo. Evo ga. Stavi maske.
Wow!
Eto, i to je bila djelomična pomrčina sunca.
A kako onda tek izgleda totalna pomrčina sunca?
Totalna pomrčina sunca ti izgleda tako da se čak jedanput čuvarica šuma sa svojim izvidnicima izgubila u šumi. Bili su daleko kad je plemenski astronom najavio pomrčinu. U sred dana dogodila se totalna pomrčina. Kako su bili duboko u kanjonu, nisu mogli vidjeti nebo i ono što se na njemu događa. Isprva su se uplašili, jer mračna šuma može biti prilično jezovita. Tada je čuvarica šuma odlučila krenuti prema vrhu. Baklja je slabo osvjetljavala put i neko su vrijeme lutali dok nisu pronašli stazu. Nisu mogli vjerovati onome što su vidjeli. Crno sunce proždiralo je zvijezdu njihovog obožavanja. Kako se mjesec povlačio, a sjaj sunca pojačavao, njihov očaj je jenjavao. Ipak su oni bili najhrabriji pripadnici plemena Sutan.